Hey everybody, episode 4 of Teacher Side Gig. But before we jump into the podcast, I'd like to connect with all of you. Last week I was talking about my why and why I do this. But even more important than my why is I want all us in our community to get together to help each other, especially in this difficult time. Um, it's been a hard time from a teaching standpoint, I can tell you that. But financially, maybe your husband, maybe your spouse, maybe your special someone has lost their job, and you need to come up with a way to get some extra income coming in. So I'd love us all to connect and to be able to do that. And there's a couple ways of doing that. First is our Facebook group. You'll have to answer some questions there to make sure that you're actually a teacher and doing a side gig. And then, so that's one way we connect in the Facebook group. And then the second way is, if you're interested, I'm taking people's emails or contact. They go to the contact form or the form on the top. The website is a work in progress at teachersidegig.com. But we're going to, I want to connect. I just want to help. I want to kind of show you what it is to be a teacher and to have a second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth job. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help all of you get better at that. So www.teachersidegig.com. Go over and check that out. And let's head off to the podcast. One. All right. Welcome to Teacher Side Gig. All right. So, Paul, I have everyone send me a bio before we get going, and we'll get to this, but I have them, kind of give a history of their teaching career and then kind of their side gig and all that kind of stuff, because I just want to kind of get a background. I have an idea of it, and then so I know this is going to be a good one, because your favorite quote, you quoted Ozzy Osbourne. We were just laughing about that before we came on here. That's funny. So,
oh yeah.
So, Paul, I'm going to have you introduce yourself. I'm going to and this has been successful in my other podcast. I'm just going to have you introduce yourself. And then what you're going to do is just so the listeners have some background, because they know about me already. Just tell a little bit, first of all, about your teaching career, how you kind of did that, and then how that led into your side gig and your other loves. Because I think that's what's, we can have I'm a math teacher. We can have more than one love. How that kind of led into your side gig. So go ahead. I'll mute and turn it all over to you. Go ahead.
All right. So my name is Paul Lichtenauer. It's phonetically oddly phonetic when you look at my last name.
Yeah. So what is that?
That is very, very German.
Very German.
Lichtenau is kind of like the Springfield of Germany. There's one in like every state in Germany as well.
Okay.
Okay. There was a I think it was a Weiss beer that was brewed Lichtenauer Weiss beer, but I've yet to find it. On the stateside, at least. So,
okay, I'm sure.
Try though.
First of all, I can tell from the times I've been in Germany that that's where I was doing it. The first time I went, I think after my first year teaching, my brother and I spent the entire summer in Europe, and so I didn't have very much money, but that was a place, wherever the big beer houses or whatever is, where you could go get cheap food. We weren't really drinking, but we knew that we could go there to get food. Like, it was like, oh my God, it's so good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I've yet to make it over there. I need to. Tons of family all over that country. So but so my journey with education actually started while I was in high school. I had a Western Civ teacher my sophomore year that kind of inspired me to become a teacher. But knowing the salaries of teachers in the 90s, I was quickly swayed to go a different direction when I graduated. So I went in, I did my education. My bachelor's degree was in communications, like advertising, PR, stuff like that.
Okay.
And then I worked odd jobs. I worked for auto parts. I worked for a nuclear weapons plant here in Kansas City.
Wow. Whoa, what?
Yeah. So we have a plant that makes non-nuclear parts for nuclear weapons. And I was working there at one point, doing warehousing stuff overnight. That's actually how I graduated my bachelor's degree debt free was because they paid for my education.
And was that hard to get in and out of work there?
It was interesting. It was when this was 2001, 2002, that area.
Okay.
And so it was the dawn of cell phones really kind of becoming mainstream. So nobody could have a cell phone inside. So you'd have to go through security just to get in. They'd go through your backpack, and that nobody ever questioned the fact that I had textbooks in there to work on throughout the night.
Right. And that was pre-September 11th.
Yeah, that was no, that was right after September 11th. I
Okay.
started there. When did I start there? I was 21, so it was late 2002.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a year later, and yeah, it was still tight. We were one of those essential type of places at the time.
Oh, wow.
But then went graduated college, packed up my car, quit my job, making way too much money at 21, 22 years old, and took off to LA to be a musician. Failed within a couple months, ran out of money, came back to Kansas City with my tail between my legs.
Oh, so, okay. So here's my first question. So why, first of all, like I was just listening to, I don't know if you've listened, if you listen to podcasts, people
Oh,
that listen
yes.
to this do, but the office ladies, have you listened to them?
Uh-uh.
You like The Office? Anyway, it's Pam and Angela from The Office have a podcast. They go through each
Oh, wow.
episode. Anyway, it's really good. So no affiliate, but anyway, it's really good. Anyway, so Pam she had to work like eight years before she even got her first acting gig. Like,
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, and they were talking about how they were working as waitresses and all that kind of stuff. Now, so my theory with this, and this is what I've told my kids that live in my house, like if you love something, you got to go. You went to the right spot at least.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you want to be a comedian, you got to live in New York, you got to live in Chicago, or
Mm-hmm.
you got to live in LA. Like you can't be a comedian in Nebraska. There's not enough clubs. Um,
Right.
but so you went to the right place, but why did you just ran out of money? So that was enough?
I ran out of money. I was tired of sleeping on my uncle's couch, and his roommate was an absolute psycho. So
Okay.
it
Okay.
was interesting, but so I packed up my car, came back to Kansas City, went back to selling auto parts, worked at O'Reilly's off and on for like almost 10 years,
Okay.
and then I started working a construction job, and after I got laid off from that, I was like, it's time to go back to what I really want to do in life, which was teach.
Right.
So I think I was 27. I went back to school to get my master's in certification, and 2010 I graduated, got my certification, had a job in alternative education at that point for a company that was a contractor for like the big urban school districts, so Kansas City's public schools, and kind of a diploma mill. We had a bunch of disagreements on how to run a classroom, and
Right.
so in January they decided to part ways with me, which
Okay.
is an awesome time as a teacher to lose a job.
Oh, it's a horrible time.
Right.
Like teachers know that it's like if you like they're hiring, right? Like we're doing this in May. This is when they're starting to hire
Mm-hmm.
for next year or
Oh
April.
yeah.
Like, yeah, that's why like I think what's unique about teachers, and obviously teachers are going to be the ones listening to this, is people don't tend to quit mid-year either. Like,
No.
you know what I mean? It's just what I've taught for 30 years. I can probably name the one person that's like, I'm done and just walks
Mm-hmm.
out. No one does that. Like in
Right.
the regular world, people just quit and go and find something else. Teachers don't do, it's weird. It's a weird world, but yes.
Well, we've got on top of you know the timing of our jobs, it's also most of us actually give a rat's ass about our kids.
Oh, we love our kids. That's
So
the problem. We don't want to leave them. That's you go into
we'll
teaching
deal
because yeah,
we'll deal with a horrible situation to stick it out for our kids for a little bit longer.
right. To see
But
it through. And what I think
yeah.
is unique about our job too is we have a start and an end. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? There's a beginning every year and there's an end, and you say goodbye and then you start over again.
Absolutely.
And most jobs don't do that. Like, you're working at
Yeah. No.
O'Reilly's. There's no start and end. like it's just so
It was monotonous.
monotonous. I bet it
But
was.
so after that, I ended up bumming around trying to find stuff for the next few months, and ended up picking up like a summer camp gig with a company that a nonprofit here in town that does before and after and community organization and stuff like that. And after the summer gig, they ended up hiring me full time as one of the site coordinators. And so I did that for about 7 years, different schools around the Kansas City metro. Um, Before I quit that to do real estate for a couple of years.
That's a
Eh,
tough gig. Real estate's a tough gig.
oh, I don't have the attitude, the personality for it. I'm a fixer and a problem solver. So everything that was going wrong in a deal, I felt it was a burden on me to make sure it got taken care of with, and without even my clients knowing half the time. So I
Right.
was putting in time and money of my own to fix problems,
Right.
and screwed myself out of, thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours and things like that.
Right.
And there was some sleep lost, and I went prematurely gray and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, be glad
But
you're not in the real estate market right now. That's probably a good thing. Yeah.
I talked to a friend of mine, and it's still going crazy right now.
Really.
Like,
Yeah.
buyers are still buying because everybody thinks, oh, it's a down market. No, it's
But the
still
problem is, and I've talked to my brother, who's a lot smarter than me, and on this stuff, he goes, the ripple hasn't happened yet. Like
right,
he goes, the ripple's going to happen 6 to 12 to 18 months. He says that's when the
Yeah.
stock market, and that's when you're going to be able to get deals on things. Not now, because people still, they're still getting paid. They still have their
Hmm.
jobs. That hasn't happened yet. I agree.
Yeah.
That's coming.
So
Yeah.
so after 2 years of that, I couldn't do it anymore, and went back last school year. I renewed my certification since I'd let it lapse, and started subbing, and then got a job for this year back my love, which is alternative education, working with the kids who have been let down by a lot of adults throughout their lives, and just loving it, loving them, and trying to be there. I teach electives, so it's a hodgepodge of my day. Everything from, I do an audio production class to business essentials, all kinds of different stuff. My days are never boring.
I think it's interesting how education does kind of suck you back in.
Oh yeah.
Like it's just it's I tell people it's like being an artist. There's a
Uh-huh.
calling. It's like
Oh yeah.
being an actor or wanting to be in a band. There's a calling. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but there's always this like nag to kind of go back. So so let's talk about your side gigs. So what do you do for side gigs? I mean, half these work,
So
but yeah.
right, yeah. So my side gigs are numerous and very low paying at the moment, but can be very lucrative in the future as we go on. But I compose for film and TV. I've got an album in a music library right now, waiting for some placements in television shows and
Okay, so
advertising.
let's dive into this. First of all,
Okay,
you probably don't know that I was just recently on a Facebook ad.
were you?
Yeah, I was the 2020 graduates. So I have a bunch of Facebook groups,
Hmm.
and a casting person called me, and I ended up being. It's got like 3 million views right now, and yeah,
Nice.
it's like celebrating. It's like hashtag graduation 2020 or something in Facebook.
Hmm.
And so first of all, newfound respect for anybody that does that, because I was on one Zoom call. There were like 17 people on this one Zoom call for
Oh
me.
yeah.
For me, and literally I was in the commercial like 3 seconds of a 30-second commercial, and it was
Right.
like the casting director, the sound guy, the cinematographer, and then they'd all of a sudden stop, and I go, what's going on? And they go, well, they're talking to the Facebook people and all this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Crazy. Really cool, very cool experience. um
Yeah.
but so
Luckily on my end, all I have to deal with is the library owner. I send him music. He deals with all the placements and all the crap, and I
so
just
what
get
is
a royalty
library,
check.
what does that mean? What does that mean, library owner? So you make
So
music.
I
Okay.
make music, and then for any commercial, for any TV show, any music you hear, there's two types. You get a composer who writes a score for a movie,
Okay.
which is going to be, your Ben Wallfish's, Hans Zimmer's,
Right. Big
the
boys. The
big
big
time,
boys.
big
Yeah.
names that, own studios that take up blocks in LA.
Right.
Or you've got like when you hear that Goldfrapp song in like Nip Tuck back in the day, that was their
Yep.
theme. When you've got a pop artist song, those are from music supervisors sourcing that.
Okay.
Well, the people who deal with the music supervisors are going to be like the libraries. So there's numerous libraries throughout the country, throughout the world, really, that these music supervisors use to find the stuff that they.
And are they categorized? So if I'm looking for something,
Yeah.
do they have it categorized by?
Yeah. So driving rock, hip hop beats, vocal rock, vocal orchestral, different things, dark orchestral. You can get down to the nitty gritty. And the album I've got in is just a straight up vocal rock record. Sounds like it could be a Black Keys album almost,
And so how do you get, so let's say I'm going in and I look at the library and I find yours and I want to use it. How do you get paid then?
So then there's a sync fee, which is paid to the library, and then the library distributes that money to me. So if the music supervisor wants the song, say they want my song, the key, they claim that, they pay I'd like to say like $10,000 sync fee, even though it's going to be more like $500, but still anything's better than nothing.
Right.
And then there's so you've got the front end sync fee, and then you've got the back end royalties. So if you think about a good one, The Big Bang Theory. Yep. Their theme song was done by Chickadee China, Chinese Chicken. What the hell is the name of that band?
I know what you're thinking. I love that. Is a great theme song. Every time it comes on, I sing it. Like, yeah.
Yeah, so they wrote that song, they got their upfront fee, and they get royalties for every time that song is played. Think about how many times that show runs, in syndication and all that stuff. Every time that song plays, they get paid.
I have 55 Big Bang Theories on DVR. So every time that was on the TV and I taped it, they get
exactly.
Something. Oh my God! You can retire on that.
Yeah, that's why a band like, say one of those 80s one-hit wonders, they made tons of money. Didn't matter that they may have sold 8 million albums, and that was a good chunk of change, but it's all that back-end royalties that comes from the sync licensing and different things like that. So I mean, it can be lucrative. It can, I've gotten a check one time for 64 cents. I've got, and I'm hoping to see some bigger checks in the future.
And so, and is it about quantity? Is it about like, you got to produce to get lucky too? It's a law of large numbers, probably, huh?
It is. And I've only got the one album in there right now. I'm kind of working on some other stuff, but I'm also pushing for some film scoring as well right now. Working with some independent filmmakers here in town, in Kansas City. Scoring movies from them, just trying to build my name.
Right. Well, you got to get practice too. Part of it's practice too, I would guess. I mean, that's what they say like about the Beatles. Before the Beatles became the Beatles, the amount of time they played songs in bars and stuff was like 25 life's worth. They said it was crazy.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, in what, 15 years I've been playing in bands. I've played 500 shows, probably.
Yeah, it's so is there a hierarchy to which library you want to get into?
There's some of the Universal Music owns a couple libraries, and Sony BMG so some of the big boys own their own libraries, but there's a lot of independent libraries as well that work with artists like me, where I emailed a guy out of the blue, asked him about one song. He went to my SoundCloud, and found another song and was like, I want an album of all that kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, give me a couple months. I'll have it knocked out for you.
Okay. That's awesome. I mean, so that's so intriguing as far as and you're also doing something you love to do, which makes it easier.
Yeah.
Like, you're like,
oh yeah.
Yeah. It's like doing these podcasts. I love doing podcasts. So I do them. It's like, I don't make any money doing it, but I like doing them. So
Right.
that. I love that. I love that. I love that twist of like finding. So is there any other avenues you can go down as far as putting your music, getting them in more libraries, or do you sign
Yeah,
an
I can.
exclusive?
This one's an exclusive. You can go non-exclusive, but it's whatever opportunity presents itself. I
Right.
will be as I write more stuff. He may not like that, so I'll go shop it to other libraries. And I try to keep an album with a library and not have like 3 libraries trying to shop the same album, because then music supervisors start seeing your name showing up across different libraries with the same music, and it looks sketchy. And so
Oh, they don't like that. Okay, that's interesting.
now you can get blacklisted easily, because some libraries will be like, well, we'll just take these same songs and name them something different, and then people start noticing real quick, and you can get blackballed real quick.
And are there a lot of people doing this?
It's growing. It's been really in the past 10 years or so that it's really started to grow as an industry. So it's always been something that's there, but it's really started to take off.
And it's part of it is probably because YouTube and SoundCloud and all those kind of things. Are there
Absolutely, they've made it a lot easier.
are there things like this? Do you know if there's things like this for voice actors and things like that? There's got to be. I'm guessing there is. Like, or
There
behind
would
the
have to be something.
like generic
I don't
sounds
know.
like door closing and stuff, or I don't know, maybe not.
Right. Well, that's sound designers and post production people and
Right.
Foley actors. That's something I've kind of looked at. My brother's in advertising, and I keep asking him, I'm like, who do I need to talk to do voiceovers, to do, even just to record voiceovers for other people? And I always get the name of agents and stuff like that, and I can never get an agent to get back with me.
Right,
So,
right. Well, and
yeah.
for my podcast, I go on Fiverr or Upwork and I find somebody on there to do my intros and stuff for me.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them
Right.
are really busy. It's like, holy crud, are you busy? 50 bucks
Oh,
a
yeah.
pop, 50 bucks or 20 bucks a pop, and you get 1,000 of them. That's okay. Now we're talking. Um,
Exactly. Especially a quick voiceover that takes you an hour,
yeah, I mean,
you
literally,
know?
I did one for my last two for Coach Unplugged and stuff, and it was literally like 2 sentences, and the guy had I paid it. It was like he made 20 some bucks. It literally, I
Mm-hmm.
bet it took him 5 minutes, maybe. Like,
I did one on, what was it, Upwork or whatever Upwork was before.
yeah,
About, this was like 2013. Did an audio children's book, all the voice.
okay,
I think I made $10 for that, something like that. And it took me like 3 hours.
right.
It's like, well, that one didn't work out in my
That one
favor.
didn't work out real well, but yeah, but then you start getting them. So okay, so I love that. So anything else?
Let's see. So there's a film composing. There's I play in a band. We're an original band, so it's not like we make money at that. That's more for fun.
Right,
Um,
yeah.
then I promote bike races. I'm an avid cyclist as well,
Okay.
and so I work with a guy helping to promote bike races, and I announce, especially cyclocross is big here, and so I've announced all the cyclocross races, pretty much, some of the road racing, things like that. Just having fun, make $100 in a day,
Yeah,
and have a good
and so
time.
how do you do? So let's go back to the other thing. How do you do those recordings? Do you have like a studio? Do you have like? I mean,
Yeah, so and you can kind of see behind me.
I can't
We're
see
in
you
my
at all. I
studio
can't
right.
see you at all right
Oh,
now.
do I have not vid? Do I? Oh, hey, let's try this.
I didn't
Yes,
think you wanted to be seen, so I didn't say anything.
there we go. I was wondering why I couldn't see a video of myself.
Yeah, I can't see you. Okay.
That's what we use Google Meets all the time for school, so
Okay.
I don't
No
know Zoom
worries.
all that well.
No
But
worries.
okay, so you can kind of see we're sitting in my studio here,
Okay.
and I've got, I use PreSonus Studio One for my workstation. Um, that There we go. Okay, we're still now.
So
You can really see
so I'm going to ask questions. People can just listen. I don't care at this point.
it.
So how did you do the mic? Do you have a I don't even know what they call them. The thing that changes
So Yeah, so I've
board?
got an interface over here.
Oh
This
God, you're a
right here,
big, okay.
my mic is plugged into a Tascam 1608 interface, and then I'm using a old school Shure S55.
Oh, I do like
You know,
that. I do like that.
um,
So what would you
yeah.
recommend for someone starting that wanted to do a podcast?
Depending, you can do it real cheap and easy. My favorite interface, and I've got one, but I lent it out to a buddy of mine during quarantine so he could track some guitars. It's a Behringer UM2. It's
Okay.
like 50. It's like $50 on Amazon or Sweetwater or anything like that. And it's just a little 2-channel. You've got a one mic preamp, and then you've got a 1/4 inch in as well. So
Okay.
you can record guitar. You can double track a guitar. You can use a mic
I mean,
in a
I do
guitar.
this. I do mine. So, I mean, I'm literally, this is plugged into my computer, which is a
Mm-hmm.
USB. I mean, I do it super simple.
Yeah.
You can do it really simple. I want to move upward and try to get maybe like just to get a little bit better sound.
Oh, I would love to do the Zoom L8. Oh, that L4 or L8, whatever, depending on how many channels you need. But it's or the Mix Pre from Sound Designs,
Okay.
something like that. The Mix Pre 6, but that's almost $1,000.
Yeah.
So
It's like,
the Zoom's like $400. That's actually attainable. But
right. Right.
you've got your buttons for being able to put in any sounds you want, so you can do a live broadcast and all that as well.
Yeah.
Plus,
So I tell people do it cheap first
yeah.
and see if you like it. And then you can get something that plugs in your computer. Yeah.
Oh yeah, this
You
I've got
either got
this
a good voice, like I have a voice for radio. Yeah, like that. Yeah.
I've got this. This was a $30 microphone that we use in my classroom for the audio production class.
Yep.
It's a USB mic, and
You get good
it does
sound out
great.
of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I keep it here with me so I could use it for my sound on all my video calls.
Right.
So
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
so as we were doing video meets with the kids, that's how they were hearing my voice.
So how are you doing the stuff you're sending to the libraries? Hey, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. Stop the car, pull over to the side, tell your kids you love them, and then go and leave a review on iTunes where we listen to podcasts, 5-star preferably, and then do that. And then also while you're doing that, just open up your browser and go over to teachersidegig.com, join our Facebook group. From there, you can do it from there, or you can do it from Facebook, obviously. And then if you have an interesting podcast, if you have an interesting idea and you want to be part of our podcast, let me know. We'd love to have you on, talk about your side gig, talk about how as a teacher you've got something on the side there. So let me know how that goes, and let's head back to the podcast. Are you doing it in that studio right there?
So yeah, I do it right here. In my basement, I've got a drum set up if I want to do live drums, but most of the time I'll just program them. It's
Okay.
Easier that way sometimes. Plus, I'm not that great a drummer, so it's
Okay.
cheaper than hiring somebody who's good to come in and do it.
Yeah.
Then I've got a rack of guitars and basses over there by the window.
Okay.
So yeah, so I play everything myself. I've been a musician since probably 10 years old when I picked up the trumpet for school band.
And how long does it take you to do the post production?
It depends on how deep I get in. I can usually mix one of my own songs in an hour and a half to 2 hours. Okay. Because I record them, it's one of those things. I know my levels, I know what I did, and I know what I'm shopping for and looking for. So
okay, well, that's awesome. And what's your end game on this?
It's kind of future's out there. I have
that's why I always ask people. Like, I always ask, like, what you'd want to do this full time rather than teach if you could, if it would pay the bills, probably. No.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's one. I mean, literally one good TV show or movie could make my second year teacher's salary look like pennies.
Right.
Like,
right.
At that point, you're like, well, at least I got good insurance.
Right. I mean, is there
Excuse me.
any advice you'd give somebody listening? Like, is there? I mean, my theory with this is you just got to keep trying until something kicks.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, I don't know how explicit you can get, but my grandpa always said, "Throw enough shit against the wall, something's bound to stick."
right?
You know,
Yeah. I mean,
and that's kind of where I'm at on it. I'm doing like I've got that album. I do a lot darker, heavier stuff than that. I'm doing film stuff where if you go to my YouTube channel, which is Velo Sounds Recordings on YouTube,
okay.
VELO.
Yep, I will put
Uh,
that in the show notes. So if anybody's running or
yeah.
jogging or anything like that, you don't worry about
Um,
the mouthful. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. So on there, I've got some videos of a guy. I've got a video of a song that I produced with a guy for a singer songwriter. Um, did that right before the day that the Chiefs played the Titans for the championship game. We got it done that morning, and
Okay.
then he left right as we got to watch the game, and then we won the Super Bowl because finally.
Yeah.
But then let's see. I've got a couple scenes that I've scored on there as well.
I
Luckily,
think
there's.
the key is, here's my theory with this, and this is the math teacher in me. And this is what has been successful for me and why I finally hit some. I think you got to leave a lot of breadcrumbs, because you never know
Mhm.
which breadcrumb is gonna, like, literally. How am I on a Facebook ad? Seriously, like, they were literally before
Yeah.
COVID. Also, anyway, I won't get into it, but that's crazy. But it was a little breadcrumb that they found. It was like,
Hmm. Oh
somebody
yeah.
from Greece joined my membership site. How they do it? They found a breadcrumb. They found my YouTube channel. They found my Twitter account.
Absolutely.
That's the thing, is if you love something, it's not really work for me when I come in
Hmm.
here or I'm watching a movie and I'm doing stuff. My wife goes, "You're always working." I go, "I'm not really working."
Yeah.
Working is like, oh, I got to go mow the lawn and then I got to I don't necessarily always want to do that. This isn't work. It's fun. I'm not really
Yeah.
thinking. It's just, but that's what I think the key for side gigs is you got to keep putting those breadcrumbs out until you find something. Like, I don't want to work at
Absolutely.
O'Reilly's anymore. you
The
know,
the guy that did the score for Get Out and Us, the Jordan Peele pictures from the
yeah,
last couple of years,
yeah,
he was a music teacher at a private school in L.A. and he had done some. I can't remember. It was like I can't remember the name of the piece, but he had orchestrated a piece, paid to have like a chamber orchestra record it, and then put it up on YouTube, and was found because of that. Jordan Peele found him, called his producer, and said, "Get this guy."
right,
Because it was one of those things, he understood the African American experience and through all that. But he was a music teacher,
right. I mean,
you
that's what
know.
people don't realize. It's like, literally, it is about being in the right place at the right time. But the only way you're going to be in the
Absolutely.
right place at the right time is make sure there's enough breadcrumbs out there. If they don't like you, they're not going to call you. Um,
Right, right.
but it's
Yeah,
like,
and that's my thing right now. Is I'm
yeah,
just putting everything out there. Right before we got on this, I was working. I had a melody going through my head that I started kind of trying to put out and see if I could get it to sound right. And
right, right.
so I was recording that earlier tonight.
So, and here's what I mean, I say this a million times. You got to find something you love to do, something that loves you back,
Hmm.
and something that pays well. If you find
Right.
those three intersections, you're good. Because
Exactly.
you might love to sing. Like, I sing in the shower. I have a horrible voice. I like singing, but no one's gonna listen to me sing. So I can love
Right.
it, but it might not love me back.
Oh
you
yeah, no,
know, um,
that's me as a singer. Yes, I can
yeah.
sing well enough to put out the album I did, but I'm not.
Right. So but obviously the guy wanted it for his library, so someone loved it back.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
otherwise he's gonna say, I'm not gonna waste my time. I'm not even gonna have, don't waste my time on it. So, um,
Right.
that's the thing. So what do you think the biggest success or biggest failure with the relation to your side gig has been?
So far the biggest success was just getting that album in the
I
library.
think that's a huge
Um,
thing as far as,
it,
like,
it
now you
it's a
got
lot bigger than I. Yeah, it's a lot bigger than I let on for. It was one of those when I got that email back from him. I was in my classroom. It was before all this stuff went down,
mm-hmm,
And I was in my classroom, and I just happened to catch an email on my studio account, and I'm like, "Oh my god, oh
Right.
my god!" Yeah. I was like, "Hold on, guys, I'm gonna go out
The
here."
basketball coach in me, what we would refer to this is that now you got some street cred. Like,
Yeah,
if you can
yeah,
go to the playground and you can play, you're gonna get picked for the next game because you got street cred. Like you got
right.
credibility. Like, no, but I mean, now in the industry, as soon as you made it to library, because now I'm sure there's lots of people that want to make the library that can't. So now all of a sudden
Hmm.
you've got street cred, which is good. Now,
Right.
like, how do you parlay that into something? Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So that's what I'm trying to do now, and like I said, I'm doing all these orchestrations. I just finished I just finished demoing out a really cool thing for a local filmmaker doing. He wanted the '60s Spider-Man theme. He's working on like a Spider-Man MCU kind of animation or
right.
something like that. He wanted that '60s Spider-Man theme, but he wanted it guitar driven. And so I was like, how about I was just bouncing ideas. I'm like, how about we do like a retro surf vibe on it?
Right.
And I demoed out this surf rock version of Spider-Man. He loved it.
Yeah.
So now I've got to
What
get
but
down and move
so
my
let's
stuff
say you
around.
wanted to do commercials. Like, is there money in commercials?
That's something I'm looking at trying to get more into. I've been trying to figure out I'm trying to build my portfolio for the most part so I can start going to some of these post-production places. And Kansas City's a hotbed for advertising.
Right.
We have a ton of advertising agencies. So
And
I'm just trying
do
to,
they put people like you on retainer?
I
Like
would hope to just do freelance.
freelance. Okay.
Sometimes they do have staff composers, some of them. I would just hope to do some freelance work here
Yeah.
and there. Like, oh, when your composers are overrun or you want somebody with a certain style, you can come to me.
Right. That makes
So
more
I've got,
sense. I bet you have more freedom that way too if you're
yeah,
yeah.
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 I've come to realize, like, as an orchestral composer, I've got more of a minimalist type feel, kind of a Philip Glass, very kind of. I can. I'm not a huge like Marvel orchestra type,
Right.
Hans Zimmer, John Williams
Yes.
type stuff. I'm much more subdued
Yeah.
and
So
darker.
let's go to the weakness. What about a failure? Because I could tell you, we could do a
Oh,
6-hour show on the number of failures I've had in my business ventures.
let's see. I had the real estate failure. The money.
But was it a failure, or you just didn't want to do it anymore?
Well, there
You
was
couldn't sell
there
anything.
was the retail side where I just got sick of it. There was the investing side where I lost like 50 grand and across two houses and
Yeah,
just,
everybody should work in retail. Like, I,
yes,
it
yeah.
teaches you about life. To be honest.
Um,
Yeah.
so those were some of the biggest
Big.
failures I've had. I've tried to launch so many businesses over the past 15 plus years. Just one of those, if I failed, I didn't pick myself up and dust myself off. If it started to fail, I was just like, oh, I'm done. On
I'm
to the
done.
next thing,
Yeah.
So,
But that's okay.
or it would flounder.
That's okay. That's a good thing, I think. So what do you think has helped you in the business? What things have helped you as far as a side gig or a business goes?
Um, just having so many different avenues to chase my love, my passion of music and audio and sound. And
And that's what here's my theory, because we were talking about my business, which is teachhoops.com, that I think the key is you got to you got to have, I think the world, my son's a senior in college, I think the world that he's growing up in, that you need 6 or 7 different forms of income. Now,
oh
some of them
yeah.
might be like a stock, some of them might be your 401k, some of them might
Hmm.
be tutoring, some of them might be, whatever. You,
Yeah.
the old days of just one job and one income,
Oh
because
God.
things,
I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I think it's changed. I really do.
the day the days of running the local hardware store and raising a family in a four bedroom house with the wife staying home, that's not
Gone.
going to happen. That's
No,
gone. I
no.
mean, Hell, you can't even raise a family on $100,000 a year hardly
No,
anymore.
and I was just walking my dogs and I was thinking about, okay, what of all the things I've done since, I graduated college? And it's like, oh my God, I
Hmm.
start thinking about all the different ways that I've made, and things have drawn. I mean, right now with my membership site, I basically I'm holding steady. Like I'm
Right,
not gaining or losing, which is a win for me. It's like, God, this
right.
world, I'm not gaining or losing. Perfect. You know, so, but I know I have other forms of income too. So if that thing went away tomorrow, no one's taking my
Hmm.
house, kind of thing. Uh,
Right, right.
so I
But
think that's a big takeaway that I've had. Um,
yeah, absolutely.
what are you looking for in a side gig? What are you looking for in a side business?
Something that's fun that I think I've always wanted to feel bigger than myself.
Right.
And so, so I'm always fighting off imposter syndrome. That's always the biggest thing. I mean,
That is.
whether it's as a teacher or, I mean, we're always all fighting imposter syndrome, on a daily basis. It's like, oh God, I suck. Why am I even here?
I
But
mean, yeah, yeah. I mean, I just told my one of my principals, I think after 30 years, I think I'm starting to hit the ground running now with teaching. Like, I just think I feel like I just, and then they throw this at me. It's like, okay,
oh my God,
I'm
yeah,
trying to teach them via Zoom. This doesn't really work.
right.
Um,
Yeah, and you being a math teacher, you need the kids there. Mine
well,
was
and the thing is, it's like
self-paced and
I told my principal, I said, the problem is teaching is I got to be able to read my audience. It's like being a stand-up,
yeah.
like one of my stand-up days. It's like I got to read the audience and then go from there. Like deer in the headlights, I did something wrong. Like I can look out there
Hmm.
and go, "Whoa, that just went," psh. But I can't
Yeah.
sense that when I'm not in the room with them.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just so hard. So, what do you think the biggest influence from your business, biggest influence or person or book or anything then as far as your business goes?
Um, Book wise, The Go Giver. Got that
Okay,
around here
who wrote that,
somewhere.
and what is that about?
Uh, that was can't remember who wrote it.
Okay,
But it's about giving of your time and yourself um, to bring it. It's what you give out, you take back in
it's
times
the
10.
energy force. I fully
Yeah.
convinced on that. Yes.
Um, it's a great book. It's adding value to other people's life, not asking for anything in return. That's why I'm doing these free scores for independent filmmakers right now. So I'm
Right.
like, I get my experience, you get music. If you like it, awesome. If it sucks, you scrap it. You're not out anything,
Right. It's
you
a
know.
win-win for everybody. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I can add value to them because they may not be able to afford custom music for
Oh
their
my
part
God. If
or
I'm a filmmaker and someone comes says that to me, it's like, yes, can I buy you lunch?
yeah.
Like, holy crap, they must
Yeah.
love you. Like, yeah.
And then at some point somebody's going to come call and be like, well, you did this awesome score for Jake over here. I'd love for you to do this.
Right.
And here's $500,
Right.
or
Right.
something.
Right.
So,
Yeah. No.
um,
Is there a
another
lot
one,
is the film industry big in Kansas City?
it's we've got a film commission. We've got a pretty decent independent scene.
Okay.
We've got UMKC right here, which has a pretty good film community, a part of it, film school, film community.
Okay.
So, there's all the college kids to work with that make me feel old now that I'm around them from time to time.
They're trying to do their film and
Yeah.
how does that work when they come? Do they tell you what kind of vibe they want? How do they do that?
So I've gone off of scripts alone. I've gone off of rough cuts of their films. They'll try to give me kind of ideas of which way to go, and I'll just kind of demo stuff out and be like, "What do you think? Yay, nay,
So so
edgier,
so this is
softer,
interesting because I've
slow?"
never really thought about this. So there's a 2 hour movie. There's obviously dialogue in that movie.
Hmm.
What percentage of that movie is sounds or things in the background? The whole movie?
Out of a 2 hour movie, you've got, um, uh, kind of. It depends. I think Mission Impossible, like the last Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, had 102 minutes of original score out of a 120-minute movie, which is unheard of. It's
And
so much
and
music.
that's a lot. So you're saying that's a lot.
That's a
But
lot. So normally it's like 60 to 70 minutes for an hour and a half, 2 hour movie.
and that's when, so you and I are in dialogue and we're
Mhm.
doing a scene and we're talking. Is there stuff underneath that, even though we're
There might
talking?
be, there might be, there might be, it might be something that it just, it's, it's going in underneath to set the mood for the dialogue.
Okay.
It could be just in between scenes. You know, it depends. It depends what the director's wanting. I find that some of the most powerful sounds in audio is silence. Like the most powerful note in music is the absence of sound
Right.
used in the right place.
Right.
Excuse me.
But there's got to be a
So
knack to putting that sound into. So you're not in charge of that. I mean,
right, I write. I try to hit cues in there. If there's a big jump cut, if there's something that I want to make sure I accentuate.
okay.
On my YouTube channel, I did a rescore for a competition that Spitfire Audio is putting on from a scene from Westworld, which was so cool. I watched that show the first couple seasons, and this was from
Is
this
it
current
good? I haven't
season.
watched it yet.
Its second season started to lose me a little bit because I just got lost real quick, but the first season's phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm watching Homeland right now.
I've heard that's good. I
It's
haven't.
really good. The one you'll love this. The one I've tried to get into is The Wire. I
That
can't.
I watched that when it first came out back in the early 2000s. I was a huge fan of The Wire.
Is it
My
good?
wife
Because I
just went,
can't.
it is.
It hasn't like grabbed me.
So
Like,
if season one doesn't get you, then you won't get into the rest.
okay.
Season one has to grab you right,
Well,
and
I'm only
so
gotten through halfway through the pilot, where So
oh yeah, no, give it some time. You'll once you start to get to know the characters and
okay, I'll give it some
especially
time. I'll do that
it's
after
got
Homeland.
it's
Homeland's
got those antagonists that you somehow find yourself rooting for from time
okay.
to
Okay, I'll give it a try
time.
because it's like one of those dinner conversations. Like everyone's watched The Wire. It's like The Office. Like everyone's
Yeah.
watched The Office. It's like I haven't watched The
Oh yeah.
Wire. Like, you know, I,
but
sorry,
but yeah, so but yeah, so back to the books. The Go Giver is a huge one for me. The Coffee Bean by John Gordon. And you being a sports guy, you probably know all of John Gordon's books.
they're very good.
Uh, my principal is he's the head softball coach in our district, and
Okay,
he's a huge John Gordon fan. That's where we do all our book studies during the year is John Gordon books.
he's
But
very good.
the Coffee Bean's the one that stuck with me the most, just because it's how the environment shapes the person, and a stressful environment softens you or hardens you, depending on what you're made of and things like that, and what you can deal with.
What do you think the hardest thing to do as far as a side gig is? Like, what do you think the hardest thing about doing what you're doing right now and doing another job and teaching?
Time management, if all goes right. It'll be get off work at 3 o'clock, come straight home, in my studio till midnight. Bye
Right,
bye, love you.
right.
I talked about leasing a space and building out a commercial studio here in my little city in I live in Raytown, which is a suburb of Kansas City,
Okay.
and trying to find a little spot here to lease a studio. And my wife was like, I'd really prefer you just build out the basement, because if you take your studio outside the house, I will literally never see you
Right. That's what my wife said with
again.
me. It's like she goes, we're gonna make one of the rooms just your office. It's like because then
Right.
I'll at least see you. You can come out and
Exactly.
yeah, I know. It's like, well,
So,
I don't really feel like I'm in work mode. I go, she goes, don't matter. That's gonna be your work mode.
right.
When you walk in that
Right.
office, you're in work mode.
Yeah, she knows if I come in here, I'm immediately picking up a guitar and messing around, or I'm sitting at the keyboard, getting ready to pick up a
So
piano and bring it in.
is there anything you tell your younger self?
Stop giving up so easy.
Okay.
That's I had so many things I started doing but as soon as I hit that first obstacle, as soon as I hit that first no, as soon as I got that first any kind of resistance, I was like, I'm out, on to the next thing. I can't. I'm not good at this. I can't do this. I always found a reason not to,
So
rather than
fighting through those
right,
valleys is what you'd say.
right.
Okay.
And with what I'm doing now, I've had my share of no's. I sent out to a lot of libraries before I got one that wanted me,
Right.
and I was just like, oh well, you're lost. Moved on to the next, and I was like, where did that attitude come from? I've never had that
And
before.
part of it's age, I think, too, a little bit is like
Yeah,
fighting through that. Um, and the thing is, you got to knock on enough doors too.
yeah, exactly. It just put it out there.
It's very
Even though
similar
I've
to
got
you
to,
being an actor. Like actors
mm-hmm,
get turned down more than they get roles. It's a similar
yeah,
with music. It's like music's like art. I could look at a painting, you look at a painting, we to see I might like it, you might not. Doesn't mean it doesn't have any value. It's the same with music. So
right.
I would think it's very similar in the sense that you just got to find the person you jive with. I mean, the thing is, I would think with music and scores like that, you find somebody that jives with you, or director or producer or something, you're in. Like
Oh yeah,
like
that's
your
Danny
sound.
Elfman is Tim Burton's. He's his guy. He gave him his
Right.
first shot, and
And he's been with us
so
since. Yeah.
yeah, it's just a matter of any of these guys that I'm working with here gonna blow up.
You never know.
Maybe.
Hey, so do you have any parting words for people listening?
Parting words: don't give up.
Okay.
Love what you do and do what you love. I
Yeah.
mean, it just take that. I'm thankful for every day I get to sit down and play music, or I get to walk into my classroom, which I haven't done for 2 months, or
I know. I
so
miss that.
I'm at a point where everything I do in my life is something that I absolutely love, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Here's my advice in the parting words: life is too short. Like you better do something.
Absolutely.
Like I've never gone to work. Like I love teaching, I love what I do.
Right.
It's not work. I mean, there's days I don't want to get up or I don't feel good, but I never
Hmm.
go, like I've never walked in. I'll do something else then if that's the case. So I think
Yeah.
that's great. So thank you. I appreciate you being on, Coach. I really do.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
appreciate you having me.
Thanks.